Oh, he's wrong. Hello. Hello, hello. So I titled it Her Story is Not the Collective of Brown Women's Story. And I'm talking about Janiyah Wilkinson, Taraji P. Henson's character in the movie Straw. Her story is not the collective of brown women's story. Uh, Even in the movie, you saw brown women who did not actually relate to her. You have some who could and some who couldn't. See, when you're a person that is not ever having support by anybody, that is a specific situation. It really is. And it's not about being poor. That is a unique, specific situation when you don't have support. And I've seen a lot of brown people, brown women who do have support even when they're poor. And I've seen some people who have a good job and whatever, and the minute they lose everything they have, then there's nobody around. So, like, not having support, and that's what Taraji P. Henson's character, Janiyah Wilkinson, kept talking about, is that she doesn't have anybody to help her. That's what she kept talking about. She doesn't have anybody to help her. That is a unique situation, and it's not necessarily the narrative for brown women, because I've seen a lot of brown women who get support. I don't know, maybe people see it something differently. I think the narrative on the media is saying that brown women don't have anybody. But in life, that's not what I see in life. In life, I see brown women with their families. When I work in a healthcare facility, I see their families coming to visit the brown women relatives, family coming to visit. I don't see that. You have brown women, a lot of them have these children, and when they want to go out and party, they leaving their children home with their grandmother. So that's not Janiyah Wilkinson's story is not really the story of the collective of brown women, because Janiyah had two jobs. The problem is it's only 24 hours in a day, and it seems like you don't even have that, really, to be honest with you, and you don't. It's really only 17 hours in a day. They say it's 24 hours. It's really only 17. That's what I heard last. It was this guy said it's been reduced to 17 hours in a day. And you're trying to work two jobs and raise your child. It's just not enough time to do everything you have to do. And then she don't have support. That's what makes it hard. But that is not the story. I don't feel like of the collective of brown women. I don't feel like it's their story. When I go to their houses, when I see them, they have help. They have somewhere to drop their kids off to. But you have some who that is their story. But I want to say, and the reason why I say that is because I don't think a lot of brown women don't need to suck up that story like it just has to be them. Because I said specifically, Janiyah Wilkinson had a very meek, nice, and timid personality. And that is an open door for people to be very nasty and be a bully. That is an open door for people to be a bully. The most assertive I saw Janiyah Wilkinson did not become assertive until she didn't rob the bank. She just wanted her check to be cashed, but it was considered her robbing a bank because she had a gun, right? And she holding people hostage, so it's considered robbing, even though she's not stealing anything from them. She just wanted this lady to cash her check, but it was considered a robbery anyway. But what was I going to say? What was I saying? But yeah, she became assertive. It seemed like she finally learned, and that's not a judgment because I understand how that personality is. She finally became assertive. She finally asserted herself and didn't care about anybody's feelings when she when she pulled out the gun on those people and told them where to go. You go back here. You go. Well, go where the controllers are. Go now. Go. It's like she asserted herself. She spoke up for herself. Finally, when it was time for her when she just couldn't take no more, she like literally popped. She popped. She kept saying, okay, yeah, and it's like, and sometimes in this life, it's really, that's why some people say you should take no for an answer, but that's not always good, because then you should allow people to say no. But then I can understand not taking no for an answer. And she just kept saying, okay, to the point where she had to shoot that man so she can get her check, because he didn't want to give her check. She shot her. She got her check with blood all on it. She took it to the bank, and because the cop took her license, because her car was towed, she couldn't. The teller didn't want to cash her check, even though the teller is very familiar with her face. She comes there all the time. They know who she is. They know her by name. But they're like, I need your license. See, that's a little too robotic for me. Like, if you can recognize somebody, there has to be some kind of something that you can do about it. That's a little bit too robotic, that you're going to go that much by policy that somebody can come in the bank or come into a place all the doggone time, and you already know who they are, and you're going so strict by rules. Well, I need your license in order. You know this person, they come in there all the time. But like I said, that's a unique type of situation. But she finally asserted herself when it was time for her to pull her gun out on these people. And then she learned how to assert herself. But anyway, like Sherri Shepherd don't know anything about that life. Sherri Shepherd's character, that is. She played the bank manager. Before she came up to that neighborhood where Benevolent Bank and Trust is, which is in an impoverished type of neighborhood, in the black neighborhood, but black impoverished neighborhoods, because you have some black neighborhoods or brown neighborhoods that are more upper, like Ladera Heights in Los Angeles, something like that, or Baldwin Hills. So you have some brown communities that are more a little on the upper class side, but she was in the lower class. Now, Sherri Shepherd's character, she was working at a white bank, not a white bank, but a bank in a predominantly white community. Okay, she was working at a bank in a predominantly white community. She chose to come to Benevolent Bank and Trust because she saw how the brown people were being treated in the impoverished neighborhoods. So she chose that life. She chose that life. I can't stand people in their road rage. It's traffic. It's rush hour traffic, and this man is in his truck driving behind these people and just all yelling and yelling. Like, what does he expect them to do? What do you expect them to do? See, he gonna make sure he don't get no accident for anybody, but they supposed to run out in front of cars for him. But he gonna sit there and wait and make sure he get through safely though. Anyway, so Sherri Shepherd's character, she chose to come out there. She doesn't relate to Janai Wilkerson. Sherri Shepherd's character cannot relate. I mean, she had empathy for her, because that's what people with the actual soul, they can have empathy for you. They don't have to always be in the exact same situation that you're in to have empathy. Sherri Shepherd's character does not know that kind of life. She does not know that life. She was married, she got kids, and a white picket fence, and a dog or a cat or whatever. She has a completely different life. In that movie, she had a completely different life. What I notice about some brown people is when they do put out shows showing the life of an upper class brown family, like the Cosby Show. I remember it was a lady who's an influencer. She got on YouTube. This was years ago. And she kept talking about the Cosby Show and how the Cosby Show wasn't realistic for black people. That wasn't realistic. Well, in her words, black people, right? It wasn't realistic for black people. It's not real. It's realistic. Cosby Show was realistic for the way I grew up. The Cosby Show was realistic because that's how I grew up. That's how I grew up. So there are some kids that are brown kids that have parents that are doctors. Some of us did grow up like the Cosby Show. Some of us did. We all don't know the Janiyah Wilkinson story. Everybody who's a brown woman don't relate to that story, but that doesn't mean that you can't empathize with her. You don't have to act like you don't have a soul. I mean, anybody can see that's messed up. Anybody with any kind of compassion in them would have known, dang, this is messed up. But the way they doing it is they making it seem like this is a story for a lot of brown women. And I'm sorry, a lot of brown women in 2025, and I'm just saying, that are going through that in 2025, a lot of them at this point, I almost want to say it's a choice, because there's too much information out there to be making the same decisions as women made in the 80s, as women made in the 90s, and even as women made in the early 2000s. There's too much out there. Too much has been exposed to keep doing the same thing. So at this point, you just do it to yourself. It's self-inflicted at this point, because the information has been put out there. You have been warned. Okay, you have been warned, and even the men themselves went online to tell you that they hated you. They did that. Okay, they went online to tell you that they hated you. So in 2025, women who get into this situation now of a Janiyah Wilkinson, at this point, is self-inflicted, because you just listen. It's a group of men that might not deserve a chance with you. It's a group of men in the brown community that maybe they don't deserve a chance. Maybe you just don't want to give them a chance. Okay? Maybe don't do nothing right now, because the world is not the world, but the United States especially is just a little messed up right now. I wouldn't want to do nothing over here. But no, women should not be taking that in. It's like, but how many stories is that of brown women? Doesn't that story deserve to be told? It's a lot of rich brown women too. Well, they're called bougie. They think they too good. They think they're white. So you're expected to struggle like a Janiyah Wilkinson. You're expected to have that narrative. Like me growing up, I'm just gonna say, both my parents were doctors. I lived like the Cosby Show. I grew up like the Huxtables. Okay, and because I didn't have a Janiyah Wilkinson narrative growing up, I got a different narrative. Like my narrative is not great though. Like I wouldn't mind the poverty, because I already dealt with that in my adulthood anyway. I dealt with poverty in the car and all that. I dealt with that anyway in my adulthood. Sometimes I'd rather deal with that than some of the stuff that was done to me as a child. I probably would rather just deal with the poverty, because as long as you got a brain, you can get your way out of it. But when something happens to you as a child that messes with your mind, now you can't think yourself out of a doggone paper bag. Okay? So sometimes when people want to feel like money is everything, and they feel like they can just, somebody else look good and look like they making money. Oh, look at you. You looking good. Okay. You want to go through what I went through as a child? Because it looked like you only complaining about some money. Okay, as long as my mind work, I can figure out how to get money. Now you go through all these rituals as some of these children go through. You go through that. Let's see if you keep your soul. Since you thinking because you ain't got money and somebody else do, everybody got it so much better than you. I hated that growing up. You know. But anyway, I digress. I kind of digress. I went to the left on that. But my point is that there's a lot of people, the character that Sherri Shepherd played, there's a lot of people who identify with the Sherri Shepherd character as well. The same way as women who identify with Janiyah Wilkinson, there's also other brown women who identify with Sherri Shepherd's character. Sherri Shepherd chose to come out to that neighborhood and work because she felt like she saw how brown people were being treated, and she wanted to come out and be of help. But she had a good life. She had a good husband. She had a family, white picket fence. Now I'm just saying white picket fence. I don't know what their fence look like, but I'm pretty sure they have a fence. I'm pretty sure that she drives 30 minutes from a white neighborhood to get to that black neighborhood where that bank is. Okay? And there's a lot of brown women who has the story of Sherri Shepherd in that movie. Okay? In that movie. What about the brown women, the brown girls who are being raised by these celebrities? Does it look like they have the Janiyah Wilkinson story? There's a lot of brown women who don't identify with that these days. There's a lot of brown women who do not identify with that these days. So I honestly, the only thing I really identified with, the only thing I identified with in that story is the fact, is that personality that Janiyah Wilkinson had in that movie Straw. Only thing I really identify with is that kind of personality she had, because that personality is the reason why a lot of people kept disrespecting her. Is that personality. And when a white woman or a white person or any person have that kind of personality, you get treated like that. Now, sometimes you're treated worse by brown people than you're treated by non-brown people, because brown people are just harsh. They're very harsh like that. Okay? And so you can have that personality and go into other communities and they're not as bad. They don't treat you, they don't disrespect you as bad. Brown people just can be sometimes very harsh. They're very harsh and don't care. But either way, you can still be disrespected. Either way, you can still be crossed. And what I saw the most, it was her personality that made people very disrespectful. Anyway, to end this, I gotta go. I'm going to end this. I thought the movie was okay. Some people just thought it was, oh, it was good. It was good. And I think they felt like it was really good because of the plot twist, because of the twist at the end. And honestly, I saw that on Fight Club. I saw that already. That was on Fight Club. If you didn't look at the movie Fight Club with Edward Norton and Brad Pitt, the way that movie ended, it was like the Fight Club. It was like Edward Norton, the character of Brad Pitt. Well, if you want to see it, see it. I don't want to just put the movie, because you might decide to go look at it. But the way that movie Straw ended at the end, when she found out her daughter died the night before, it's like the Fight Club with Edward Norton and Brad Pitt. So that ending didn't really do anything for me, because I've already seen something like that. And a lot of brown people felt like, ooh, because they have not seen the Fight Club. They have not seen Fight Club. So that movie was all at a bag of chips because they have not seen that movie. But I used to be a huge, I'm not a movie buff like I used to, but I used to be a huge movie buff, and I watched all kinds of movies, not just brown movies. I watched all kinds of movies. I don't care if it was Asian, white, Hispanic. I watched all kinds of movies. And so that movie did not stand out that much to me because it reminded me of other movies. Okay? But anyway, yeah. But I'll just come back later on and talk about other things. And I got to get my dog from the groomer. I'll talk later. Okay.